Welcome to episode 7 of our podcast, Sages Retreat, home of all things starting games, with current events along with anything else we can think of. My name's Lee, and this is my co-host Nathan.
Hello.
And today we're talking about some of our hobbies and interests. Nathan, you go first. Hit me with it.
Right. I thought I'd start off with PC gaming, seeing as it's a shared interest. I know we've got quite a few. Probably one of the main reasons why we're friends. But to start off with PC gaming, that's originally how we met.
Yes,
how we know each other. And I've seen PC gaming. I mean, I've enjoyed gaming all my life. That's why we talk about different consoles, because we've obviously both done that all our lives. Something that I know a lot of people, it drops off when they get to adulthood or as a dad, because you get less time. But it's one of the hobbies and interests that's stuck around for me. And I made the jump to PC gaming about 2014, 13. I can't actually remember. Might be 13. Stopped getting new consoles. I do have a PS4, but I got that later in its life, and that's mainly for kids and to play any games that I'd never been able to play before. But my main focus is PC gaming, and I know I've not done as much as you in terms of building PCs and stuff like that. But the part I built my son PC, and I've had a fettle with mine, only upgrading RAM and peripherals and stuff like that, and programs. But I quite like that side of it, and I just enjoy all the aspects of gaming, the social aspect mainly, like when we'll talk about stuff. Because I know, I think you have been PC gaming longer than me, haven't you? So
I think I started using PC gaming as more of a primary. So, well, it was very much alongside my Xbox 360 and I think the Wii at the time. But it was, it would have been over 10. So it was before I moved here. We've been here like about 11 years. This is where someone shouts at me and tells me it's a different, but let's just say 11 years, but it was before that.
Yeah.
So I would have been in my 20s, late 20s when I started. But even then, for me, that was late for me because my cousin Gareth, he's been PC gaming. I remember him being into PCs when they were truly complicated and difficult to fathom and put together, and also very expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, he helped me put my first PC together, and then from then I started learning myself how to do it, just because it was interesting. He'd be like, you need this or you need this. He'd give me some tips and, choose your budget, get your motherboard, decide what processor, things like that. And it was all this information because I probably built my last 3 PCs. And then when you were on about building a PC for your son, we'd had many conversations about budget and how to build a PC. And you, after looking at a few videos yourself and after some tips from me, I remember I put the build together online for you, and then you went over it yourself, and then we spoke about it, and then you just committed to it one day and you did it, didn't you? You built it, and there was no problems, and that's the key. You only need, once you dip your toe into PC building, or you go from PC gaming to PC, adding a hard drive, and then from there you're like, oh, it's just like a jigsaw. As long as the piece fits, generally it will work. So you it's a stepping stone, isn't it? You go from one to the next, and before you know it, you're advising people on how to build PCs.
I think it can be a hurdle for some people to get into PC gaming myself, but
because it's terrifying. The amount of obviously we're on the same Facebook group, Gaming Dads, and there's often a lot of dads will be like, I'm interested, or they've already got a PC, but they're like, I really want to put a new hard drive in, or I need some more RAM, but I don't know what to do. And these are grown men, who have probably stripped motorbikes apart or have added new bits to the cars. But it's like a PC. It's like, I'm terrified, but mainly because they can be expensive. So, and also there's different slight variations on components, and I guess it is scary to buy that part. But generally, I think you tend to know somebody, or somebody that knows somebody who's put a PC together, and you can just sort of go, what do I need to do? What is it I need? And they'll just be like, and then they'll just tell you straight away.
Yeah.
Because, and they even might sort of like in a shrug off kind of way, because once you know, it's easy. I think once you've got the idea of how to do it, it is quite easy. And so yeah, anyone wants to know anything about putting PCs together or hit us up. We're always there. I love a budget. I love it because for quite a few people, they've been like, I want to make a PC, and I've only got, if you turn around and say I've only got £500, then you can build a PC and enjoy 1080p, 60 frames gaming, and don't be thinking that you need your 1440p. Don't be thinking that you need your 4K gaming. I know the new consoles at the moment are pushing. It's all about 4K gaming. It's all, but I think that is something that's not for now. I think in a few years it'll be more prevalent. Also, the 60 frames a second is a great frame rate to be playing at. Star Citizen, when you give me a 60 on my setup, I'll be happy. So yeah, I mean the new consoles are. I mean there was a post on Gaming Dads yesterday. Someone said, "Can I build a PC for £500 that can compete with the consoles?" And no, you can't. The consoles, I mean, what are they like? £500 each. What they give you in terms of gaming ability, you cannot get on a PC for that amount of money. But what you can get for that amount of money is 1080p, 60 frames a second, and the beauty of the PC gaming experience, which is still, for me, better than the console experience. There's all those ongoing arguments, isn't there, about and we've clearly bonded over these sort of discussions because you use a joypad because you have a few issues with your mobility in your hands, don't you? Sorry, that's a proper personal information. I don't mean it's obviously nothing that's so you use a joypad for gaming, and you've adapted to that very well. But for me, a joypad is for like racing games, fighting games, third-person games sometimes. But I can play games on keyboard and mouse, and I love it. I've had many conversations with people how they say, how do you do that? Your fingers are just like this everywhere, and I'm just like, well, what's this with your thumbs? I just kind it's the same argument. But when we play like Warzone together, you do very well with a joypad, whereas you give me a joypad in Warzone, and you might as well have given it to a toddler, because my coordination, it's all about that. Muscle memory, isn't it? And your coordination, and I get there. If I'm on for half an hour, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling it. I'm getting there. I'm feeling it. But I just tend to move too quick. So I'll go to get someone, and I'll zoom in. I'll pull my gun, and then I'll go to adjust to aim at them, and I'll either not move far enough, or I'll go too far. Aim assist helps with that, but I do know that the aim assist on Warzone isn't very good.
I have it turned off. I don't bother using it because it felt like you fighted it rather than it were a hindrance rather than a help. So when it did work, it was like, oh, it's not letting me move. I've seen a few videos on the aim assist in Warzone, and people are just like, it's not the best. So you might as well just turn it off. Just get a shotgun. That's all you need. Just run around with a shotgun. Just go full terror. Hey terror. Hey listening terror. Shotgun. Or a sniper for terror. Just that's another discussion. PC gaming, I think, is definitely a shared interest for both of us, as is something else. Big one that we bonded over, which was strange, really, because obviously we got talking about PC gaming and Elite we played on quite a lot. But it's strange that it cropped up that we both have done for a long, long time, and it's a major interest for us both. We're a photographer. We own quite a lot of expensive photography equipment, and we enjoy not the exact same photography, but that's a good thing. I know you quite like urban sort of style, going around cities and stuff like that.
I like the gritty nature of the dirty underbelly of like, just like, you know, I could be walking along and take a photo of a door, and I'm like, this knackered door, you know, and I'm just like, to me, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I have a really good picture of a door, actually. That's the reason it popped in my head.
Yeah.
It's on my Instagram. It's a painted door. The paint's all coming off. It's in part of the old parts of Nottingham, which, you know, as you know, our English cities, well, UK cities, I should say, are considerably older. Well, and have this beautiful old architecture, and there was this old wooden door, and it was like I say, the paint was all coming off, and the sunlight was like cutting across it, and it was like half lit, half. I loved that picture. When it was just, I was walking along, I wasn't even looking for it, but I think that's a lot of the thing with the kind of urban photos is that you don't look for stuff; it has to find you. You have to walk along and be like, oh, I need that. Yeah. I need that picture. I'm not a fan of street photography as a kind of like taking pictures of people. I find that a bit intrusive, and I think people that do street photography, I love looking at street photography. I think it's a challenging sort of like subject matter to do, but because of that, I enjoy looking at it. You know, it's like looking at a car crash. So you're kind of like, God, I don't want to be part of that car crash, but I'm looking. What's happened? And they go around just. I've seen them before taking pictures, and they'll hold a camera because it's, especially with smartphones now, it's very easy to get into street photography. Anyone can hold a phone and just looks like they're just looking at their phone, but they're not. They can hold it here, and you can just, or even like you would maybe you can just, I'm looking at this YouTube video, you know, and you can just be like, bang, 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 bang. You can just take pictures, and no one's going to know that you're doing it. Unless someone looks at you and gives you one of them like, you fucking doing with your phone? What are you doing with your phone? Because like, but the good thing about doing the photography with a smartphone, which is, I say smartphone, it's just a phone now, isn't it? It's very viable. When we did the Caroline's wedding, I took a few photos with my phone because I was having difficulty with the angle with my camera. And I remember someone saying, "Oh, what are you doing with your phone? I could have done these myself." And I was like, "Well, you can do it if you want, but you use the tools at hand, don't you?" And I knew that I'd be able to use my phone to get these pictures, and it came out absolutely fantastic. You wouldn't know it was taken with a phone, especially not after I'd processed it in Photoshop, after I'd thrown it in there and played around with it. And if you're wondering what sort of photo it was where I was lying on the floor. In fact, you took a photo of me lying on the floor, I remember. Yeah. And I was looking up, and everyone was looking down at me. So the idea, the envision was that the photo frame, that the pic, when it was printed, it would have everyone around the edge looking into sort of like into the ground, but into the center at you. It was a really good idea, actually, and it came out really well. It consisted of about 10 photos that I had to patch together, and even had to do some reshaping of someone's head because it was I don't even know what happened. I didn't notice it until the end, and I was like, shit. It looked like they'd been like stretched, so I had to kind of like squish them back. But it came out really well. Day of photography. I mean, I've been in photography. It was my uncle that got me into it. My uncle Michael. He used to let me take photos when I was on holiday, or he always used to have his camera, and I'd be like, let me have a go. And it's just, I think all men, nearly all men I've come across have had a moment of enjoying photography. Whether it is with a small compact camera, or whether they've gone out and bought a DSLR, or whether it's just been taking a lot of pictures with their phones. I think a lot of guys go through this stage of really enjoying it, but mine's never gone away. It's always been there. It's always been my backup. And for years, when we used to go shopping, I used to take my camera. I'll just take my camera today. And sometimes I used to get a few pictures. I probably got quite a lot of pictures of Nottingham over the years. And yeah, my collection, old cameras. I still absolutely adore film. I think when you have a film camera, it transforms you into a different photographer. The photography experience itself is massively different because you're relying on having to think. You can't take, you're limited to 24, 36 frames. And even then, the first couple and the first last ones sometimes don't always come out. So you're limited to this. Say if you've got 36, you've got just let's say 32 photos that you can take, and each one, to some regard has to count. We dismiss the problem for me with digital photography is that you take a lot of photos and you don't print them out or you don't safely store them. I guarantee you that there's thousands of people out there that have lost probably 10 years plus of photos because they haven't printed them or backed them up properly. And you can't replace those memories. You might have, like I've got memories of being little, sitting on my grandparents' backyard on the path, and I remember my granddad coming up to me and getting me and taking me off, and this memory came from a photo that I'd see. I went, oh, what's this photo of me sitting on this path, on this cover? And it was like, yeah, we just put you out there. It was a nice day. You were sitting on the cover. You were playing with your toys. And then you weed all over it. And then we had to come and get you and wash the blanket sort of thing. But I might not have had that memory if I hadn't have seen the photo and asked about it. And I think photos they're valuable. They're very valuable. You look at old photos of cities, and didn't you show me a video not long ago of Sheffield City Centre? There was an old video and a new one.
Yeah. That
was really good. They pop up every now and again where people find old footage, and then they go, "Wait a minute, we'll recreate it." I went through a big stage of portrait photography with my children, and just like anyone in general that would let me take a photo of them. I just got a lot of photos, and so I'll say I'm more like I say I like my portrait. I like my in fact, just going off. Sorry, I'm waffling on again. I'd recently been finding interesting plants that have been growing out of like brickwork, and I was thinking about making a little collection of photos of nature that's taking over like man-made objects, because the amount of times you like we stood at a traffic light the other day and I saw this, like, it was about 2-3 foot tall, this like plant. I was like, why has no one ripped you up, or how have you survived it? And I was just like, wow, it's just nature's just like taking, like if you don't go in your back garden or your shed for a couple of weeks, how spiders take over it. Well, for me, the plant thing was kind of like that. I was like, wow, if we left things alone, it would just slowly but surely, structures would crumble, nature would take over. There'd probably be trees growing in the middle of the road, which would never have grown before because cars would be running over them or preventing them from, or the potholes had been fixed. Some of them, maybe not all of them.
Yeah, definitely not in Sheffield.
Definitely not. No, there's always a couple, isn't there, that never get fixed. What's your main interest with the photos?
I quite like travel photography. This leading on to another one of my hobbies which is travelling. I like landscape. I like looking across a big open vista, seeing the mountains, seeing rivers, lakes. I quite like water photography, a waterfall or a river or something like that. And I think the travelling aspect. I mean, we go quite a lot of different places. We'll take kids, go for a day out or a weekend or something, and I will always take the camera. That's the first thing that gets packed, and I'll get as many photos as I can. I mean, we went to Lake District. No, I don't think it was last year. Maybe last year. Yeah, when it was nice. And I got a million photos while we were there. I bet people got fed up of seeing them. But it's just gorgeous. Every angle that you look at is photo worthy.
Yeah,
it just looks so good. But yeah, I love landscape photography and travelling. When we've been all over. Been to Dublin. Got quite a good few photos there. Amsterdam, Rotterdam, The Hague. Got a few. Germany's really good. I think you'd like Germany just for the urban style because it got bombed quite a lot, obviously because of the war.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of older buildings, so it's like a mixture of lots of harsh concrete and angles mixed with the odd building that got left and didn't get touched or has been re-renovated back to how it used to look. Plus, they love graffiti. I don't know why. The graffiti in England pales in comparison to the graffiti. It's like every graffiti artist in Germany is Banksy or something. I've got a couple of photos. I think I sent you one while we were there. Some steps, and all the buildings around it are concrete, like angular, weird shapes. And these steps are all ornate and old, like they're probably about 200 years old, and someone's graffitied across them all. But in such a way, it looks really nice. It's on the Instagram, that one. You have to.
I don't like that.
What the good? Yeah, but it works. It's strange. I mean, you see some over here, and you've got someone's stupid tag. They'll tag something like Evo.
There's a big tagging. Yeah, there's a big tagging culture, and there was someone who it's my cousin's cousin. It's my cousin Emma, her cousin. She had a big thing for graffiti. And she would post pictures of tags, and like other ones that she'd found, and I was like, I don't get it. To me, that is like it's just dirty.
Yeah.
If you want to do a piece of art, something interesting, in a random place, like you go for it, you know, because often it needs cheering up. You do some, if you've got a beautiful piece of artwork that you can do that looks amazing, you go for it. You know, I think that, you know, we could all do with a bit more art, but I don't get, maybe I haven't asked about it enough to understand it, but I don't get tagging culture.
Yeah.
Just this, I'm like someone would do some nice piece of art, but then someone would like scribble the name on it or the tag on it. It's like, what you fucking do? All you've done is ruin it.
Yeah.
Like, forget that. Have you seen that thing as well with the stickers? People will like sign us, like tag a sticker. What that's it. What is that?
There's quite a few of them. There's actually one at lamppost outside my house. What someone's done. I can't remember what the tag is, but it's rubbish and it looks crap. Yeah. And they're all over where they've tagged it, and that don't look good. I mean, it's rare that I see in this country not even nice graffiti, but graffiti that looks tasteful in some sort of way. But in Germany, it's weird. It's like it bridges the gap between the old and the new. It sort of marries the two things together, and I think that's how it works.
I'll have to find that picture. I need to look at that picture.
I think it's on the Instagram. If not, I'll find it. It's definitely on my phone.
If I can find that picture, I will put it up. So if you're watching the video, it'll be up now. And also, I'm going to put up my door.
Yeah, don't forget
that's the door as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see if I find them. They'll be on now. Definitely interesting photography. Going on to graffiti.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you wanted to mention for yourself?
Yeah.
Well, yourself. Go on
then. Well, just a little one, because I know you like collecting stuff. Which I'll let you talk about in a minute. I'll just quickly interject.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of problem solving. Like nearly every job I've done has been some sort of problem solving stuff because I enjoy that, and I think that's why I like PC gaming, running maintenance tasks and things like that, and photography.
Fixing your PC.
Yeah, fixing my PC constantly. Fixing kids stuff. I've got a Raspberry Pi. I quite like Raspberry Pis. If people don't know what they are, it's like basically a small PC that you can code yourself to to do what you want. I use it for retro gaming, but you can use it as Wi-Fi boosters or millions of different things. But problem solving, because everybody knows I like doing it. I get given, I'll try and hold one up without it breaking, like a million puzzle things. I know you're listening, but the little wooden puzzles. I get Rubik's cubes, stuff to build every Christmas and birthday. That's what I get given. Our house is full of them. I enjoy doing them. I don't know if I'd still do them if people didn't buy them. I don't think I'd buy them myself, but people seem to buy them, so I'll use it. But I know
once there was like one occasion where you went, I really like these.
Yeah,
and that was it.
Yeah. It's like someone says something like, "Oh, I really like frogs," and then they get bought a million frog ornaments and T-shirts and hats, and I think that's where it's spanned from. So that's why my house is filled with puzzly brick things and stuff to build, because I do enjoy doing them, but I don't know if I'd go out of my way to buy them myself. But I know you like you've got a couple of collections, ain't you, that you like. You
like I've not been doing a lot of it the last maybe year or so. I think with all this crap that's gone off, it's just also a lot of my collections gear around charity shops. I love charity shops.
Yeah.
Like people, as a kid, I used to look down on them, like because my mum, I think she would buy me sometimes the odd school item, and I used to think it was a bit trumpy, but. We didn't have a lot of money. I don't think as a child, I didn't really understand it as much as what I do now. But charity shops are amazing. Especially ones where the area is a bit more like... If you can find an area that has a very small shopping centre but surrounded by a large private estate, they just get rid of everything. Like they just chuck shit away willy-nilly, and you'll always find a bargain. I especially like books. My wife would... like to throw away probably 90% of my books, maybe all of them. No, not all of them. She's not that cruel. But I went through a large period over a few years of seeing a book, and if I was interested in it, I would just buy it. I wouldn't think... But also, it was a time when I wouldn't look up so much on the internet. But I value books. I think, like, when the internet goes down... When we're done, when the apocalypse, when Trump leaves office and he takes the internet with him, or whatever, something's going to happen. What's left is, because the internet's not a real thing. It's not real. It's not. I can't hold it. I'll probably hold a hard drive, but this information that we might want is going to be somewhere, and. One of the great tragedies was the Library of Alexandria that got burned down. Yeah. Is that real? I've never looked into it. Is that real?
I think that is real. I think that is a.
Is it a myth? Is it a myth?
It could be, but I'm pretty sure I've heard something about it.
Yeah, I need to look into that now. I feel stupid. I mentioned it, and I'm like, is that real?
Yeah.
Minotaurs, are they real?
Yeah.
So yeah, collect books. I've got easily over 500 books that mine. My daughter has a lot of books. My son, not so much. My other daughter has a good collection of books as well. They've got a good bookshop full of books. Great. I like old books. So I brought one of them. So if you're looking at if you're watching the video, you'll see this. I don't know how in focus that is for you. The Blue of the Sea. I spotted it and I was like, wow. Just this, just you can just look at this and you think to yourself, yeah, that's an old book, and it smells amazing.
I was going to say I can see that it smells nice. It smells. I can smell it just looking at it. Yeah.
You can't you? Yeah. It's absolutely stunning, and just opening it up, someone has written something in it. It looks. I can't. It looks like Elsie Robinson, a classroom. It looks like St. Aidan's something class, and then it says 1913. So just having this is a bit of history for me that's now mine, and I can look after it. And if I want to, I can read it. It's all here. It's in brewing condition. I think where it was kept before, it had a lot of dust on it, and there was a slight bit of damp on it. But it's been kept in a lot safer place now, and it's thoroughly dried out, and it's fine. It's fine now. I've got a big stack of old books. Some of them are not so old, maybe like 60s. So microwaves, I think they used to call them something different. And one of the books is about radiation cooking, and it's like, oh, that's like a microwave, unless it's something slightly different. I don't know, but yeah. So I really like both fact and fiction books as well. So I have a lot of. There's even like DIY books, like just random DIY books. I have a good collection of Alien books as well. I've got all the Alien films in like novel, and I've got like artwork books and things like that. I really like that collection. I have a real thing about Lord of the Rings, which is a little bit ironic because you'll get it in a second. But if I see a Lord of the Rings book and I don't own it, like a copy of the Lord of the Rings, I'll just buy it. If it's like a couple of quid in a charity shop, I'll be like, okay, I haven't got that one, I'll just buy it. Because obviously they get re-released every couple of years, or new covers and what have you. I've got a nice box set. Lord of the Rings has got the 3 books and a separate a companion to go with, a reader's companion to go with them. But one of my favourites that I've got, which I'm holding in my hands right now, is this one here. It's not very interesting. I don't know if you can get. Is that a good angle? Can you sort of see that? Yep. This one came out in. It's not super old, but it came out. It's all 3 books in one. Smells amazing. So it's first published in 3 volumes, 1954. This one is 1973. So this is obviously before the films came out, and it's just so nice. It's a book that I will never. Actually hold and read because I don't want to damage it. But I've got this one. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's another one somewhere. Plus my box set of Lord of the Rings books, which. So the irony is, I've not actually read the book. It's been something I've been meaning to read for a long time, but I never have, and I hate myself for it because I love the films. I think they're great, and I've been told, you got to read the book, and I will read the book. I was going to read it because obviously we're locked down at the moment. I was going to commit myself to reading a couple of, maybe like a chapter a day or something, but I just haven't been able to do it. I don't know what's wrong with me. At some point, I will pick it up and I will read it. I'm not going to audiobook it. I will read it. I've got one of my copies that has been read clearly a couple of times, so I'll read that one because I know I won't sort of damage it. Absolutely. Love old books. Going on to something else I like collecting is Monopoly. A lot of people hate Monopoly. They think it's boring. I know big board game fans. They respect it for what it is, but at the same time they kind of disregard it because it's like it's a bit. When it comes to board games, it's like everyone's played Monopoly. There's better games out there, and I'm going to say that's fine. You do what you want, and I've no issues with that opinion. But I haven't got a massive collection. I know, and I've got someone on my Facebook who's got a lot of Monopoly boards, but I've got over 30 myself. And you might think, why have you got so many Monopoly boards? And I'm like, I get that. It seems crazy. But Monopoly, for me, is interesting. I like the game. It's a great game to interact with people when you're playing. There's a lot of tactics to it. And I can get lost in a game of Monopoly quite easily. And there are different boards. So you have your basic Monopoly board. I'll assume that you've all played Monopoly. You know what your basic board looks like. From there, then you have themed boards. So I have a Nottingham Monopoly. Recently, you just mentioned a few minutes ago to me, you mentioned the Sheffield one. So all it is instead of having the London landmarks on it, you have local landmarks from your local city. So whether it be football clubs, your town hall, maybe a couple of local big businesses which are local to you, and then that to me transforms Monopoly into a game that you're familiar with. So on the theme of being familiar with something, so you might find one based on Pokemon. So if you really like Pokemon, you can get someone playing a game using their brain, stretching their brain in a way that they enjoy because they enjoy Pokemon. I'm not a big fan of the Monopoly boards that are constantly getting reskinned. So they take the original Monopoly and they just go, oh, we'll just... Because there was a Skyrim one that came out. And I was like, ooh, Skyrim. We spoke about Skyrim before. Yeah. That could be really interesting. But no, it was just the skin. It was just like, it's like you've got a car, all you've done is painted it a new colour. And to me, it's not worth 30 quid to buy. I like the Monopolies that they change the game a bit. They make it into something interesting. Saying that, I do own some that are just like skin changes. I've got a couple of American ones. I've got a Star Trek. I've got a Transformers one, which is an American one. I've also got a Star Trek Next Generation Monopoly board, which I found at a charity shop, and that I only bought for like 6 or 7 quid. But a lot of it's sealed up. After doing some research, that board is worth up to about £100. I'm not going to play that one. I will just leave it because I just like it. It's special. It's one I'm going to just keep safe. There's a really one, Monopoly City, which I really enjoy because you make your way around the board and you have these little zones that you own, and then you can buy, where you would buy a house and a hotel, you can buy little skyscrapers and you can put on. There's lots of little things. It's a long game to play, that one. Yeah. And it's a game that you can't, if you know Monopoly, you still don't know this game. You have to reference the rules a lot. But once you know it, it's fun. And the aim is to eventually get this really huge skyscraper, which if people land on it, in the same way that if you've got a full colour set full of hotels, and if you land on that, you're shelling out your money, aren't you? Well, if you land on this one with this big skyscraper on, you might as well just give up. It's going to take all your money. It is so good. A favourite board that I wanted to mention and actually show on camera is this very sexist one that I've got here, which I absolutely love. It's clearly aimed at girls, although anyone can play it clearly, but I'll show you this in the camera. So it is pink and it is in the shape and design of kind of like a makeup box. So if you open it, you see, and you're going to see the camera, but you're going to see a mirror. Yeah. And it's got a little bit of ribbon holding the lid. And then we take the... now, I bought this on eBay, and there was some pieces missing. So I then went back on eBay, and I bought the pieces that were missing. For, obviously, a couple of quid each or whatever. But the bits that you get in it are quite interesting. So we've got every little girl needs their hairdryer. We've got a mobile phone, a flip phone, that one is. We've got, so there is a skateboard, there's a dog, and there's also a little, I don't know whether you can see that really, it's a football. Pink dice, lovely pink dice there. The board, I'll show you the board, let me open this up. I'll describe it as I open it. It is as pink as a Monopoly board can possibly get. The only problem with this board, I actually love the board. I think it looks great. You can sort of see it, how it looks there. I think it actually looks really good. The pink board is stunning. The only problem is that the writing on it. Now, normally you have the different places you land, and they have a name, don't they? Now, the writing on this, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's kind of like a cursive.
Like italic or something. Yeah.
And it is horrible to read. So if you've got the board in front of you, and normally, if your piece moves on the other side, you can still read it, because you can read upside down fairly easily. But I'm looking at this, and I cannot read it. What does it say? It says Paige's Pizza Palace. I did not know that was there. My daughter Paige will be very happy with that. Paige's. So it's a beautiful Monopoly. I really like it. I think now this is what, to me, novelty Monopoly should be. There should be something interesting. Very, very collectible, this one. And you don't see sort of full ones that often. So yeah, absolutely love my Monopoly. Just as a last mention on the Monopoly, I have a large board called Mega Monopoly. So each colour set has an extra one on it, and there's an extra dice that does like special things. It's really fun, but it does take a little longer to play because it is absolutely huge. But it is so good. The board is massive as well. You'd have your normal, if you have like your coffee table where you put your board, and if it fits, you need a new table. Get yourself a new table for this board because it's massive. It just takes up the whole thing. In fact, I'm really quite tempted to play it now. Might have to crack open a Monopoly later. But yeah, that's my Monopoly collection. I've got small. It just keeps coming. I've got small ones as well. Like a pack of cards. So there's like a Monopoly variant for like a deck of cards where you can collect them and hand them out, and so that's quite interesting as well. There's 3 different card games I've got. Plus I've got like a mini Monopoly, like a magnetic one that you open up, like a little book,
like a travel,
a travel one for the kids in the car, sort of stick your little, or that you take to the caravan, that kind of to the caravan, that kind of thing. It 100% is one that you take to a caravan. So yeah, that's what was that? Books and Monopoly. So the only other thing that I consider as a bit of a hobby would be 3D printing. Now it didn't pop in my mind when I was thinking about it, but you mentioned it. 3D printing it's not like a new phenomenon. It's something that's been around a few years, but it's only becoming more accessible to the average consumer. Was that the best way to put it? I think so. Like you could go out and buy a 3D printer for under £200, depending on what you wanted and how big the bed is, where it prints, the print size, and you could print. I don't want to say anything that you want. I think that's a bit optimistic. But you can print a lot of things. 3D printing has sort of 2 purposes. I guess it's necessity, or it has that fun element of just I want to print off a replica, which is brilliant. So we obviously play Elite Dangerous. I printed off a replica ship for you and I gave it to you, didn't I? Remember that cutter?
Yeah, still got it.
Yeah. So it's great for cosplayers. So building armor pieces or small, unique little emblems or guns. So like a replica gun, if you was to buy it, might cost a lot of money. Or it might not exist. There might be a film that has a really interesting gun in it, or a sword, or anything, and you can't buy a replica of it. But in that Rule 34 way of thinking, if you can think of it, someone else has thought of it, and a lot of the times they've 3D modelled it and put it on a website for free so that you can download it. So what you do is when you print, so you've got your hardware printer, I'll talk about that more in a second, and then you go onto a website. Well, there's 2 options. You can go onto a website, or you could make the model yourself, but that's another thing. So you go onto a website, a really big website I use is called Thingiverse. You go on there, just do it like a Google search for. It's notoriously slow. It's a rubbish website for its slowness, but its library of models is extensive and very good. So you would search anything. I don't know, cat. So you search cat, and there'll be people that are 3D models, little cats. And there'll be lots of different ones. And you'll be like, yeah, I want a cute cat for my desk, or as a present for a child, or So a good example I'm going to use right now is there's a very popular game out called Among Us. And Among Us is a game where you're on a ship, you're a crew, one of you is an imposter, goes around killing people, you got to figure out who it is. That's the basics of it. Have you played it yourself? Have you played it?
Yeah, I've played it.
I've played it. Okay, I've played it a few times. It's fun, but I think for me the novelty wears off after a few games, and it's just like, okay, fine. But because the game's so new, there's no merchandise for it. However, my daughter was like, oh, can you print me off a model? And I hadn't even thought about it. I went onto Thingiverse. I found that someone had actually 3D modelled a small Among Us character, absolutely perfect, to the point where it would, because when you kill someone in the game, it cuts them in half, and you can see like a bone, can't you? It's like not like a rib bone, but it's like a leg bone, isn't it? That like sticks out of them. And yeah, so it comes in two halves, and it's got a little bone, and for a model, it's absolutely amazing, and it prints off in the full model. Prints off in, for me, you're looking at about 6 hours for the various parts. And so we printed off 3 of those different colours, and she absolutely loves them. She's took them to school. All the friends are jealous. And someone was like, why don't you sell them? And I was like, I'm not spending 6 hours of print time per model to then sell it for a couple of quid. It's just not. It's not worth it. I think if someone wanted one, I would just give it to them.
Yeah.
I would just print it off and give it to them, because it doesn't use a lot of filament. Now, filament is the rolled up spool of plastic. Basically, with a you imagine if you got a toothpaste, a full toothpaste, and you squeezed it, and as you squeezed it onto a table, you drew out, let's say you drew a square, just the outline of a square. But then that's the same way that a 3D printer would work. It would melt the plastic and it would draw it onto this hot plate. Then imagine if you then squeezed another square on top of that square, you're starting to build up basically a 3D model. You've gone from a flat plane, and what you're doing is you'd be building up a cube. And that's exactly what a 3D printer does. It melts plastic, it squeezes it onto a warm plate, a hot plate, and then it just goes layer after layer after layer after layer after layer, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it can take hours. So a friend of mine, a good friend, Scott, who I'd actually love to get on here because he has so many interests. He's done a lot of stuff. He's a very interesting person. He has the same printer as me, but he has a bigger bed. So it's the same, but it's like a Model Up, which has a larger surface to print on. And he just printed off a full, I think it was a Mandalorian helmet. So I can't do that. I would have to do it in like 2 parts. But so you can do it in 2 parts, and then you can glue it together. You can sand it. You can. It's how people do it. They look seamless. If you're good at it, you can do it so that it looks good. But he printed off a whole one, and I think it took him over 30 hours to do it. And that's a long time. Yeah. You have a power hiccup, and also with a prints can go wrong. They rely on temperature, the right speed. If there's a problem with the print, so as you're printing, something can happen. What if your dog nudges your printer? Which could happen. I'm assuming you'd have it somewhere that was safe, but it's these small things that can happen which can mess up your print. I've seen a few Facebook groups on it, and they have you have a spool of it's like a big cotton reel of plastic filament, but it has to wrap up in such a way that it will unspool without tangling. Now I've seen them before where it's been in the process of a print, but it's suddenly jammed because it's got stuck on there. So what if that happens as well? There's lots of these things that can go wrong. 3D printing is very interesting. It's very interesting for little bits of crap that you print off, key rings, just little bits of nonsense. Or like I said, the cosplay thing is great. Also, to be honest, I think 3D printing has a great functional element. I think it's the future.
Yeah.
I think to some extent, maybe not in the form it's in now, but 3D printing is the future. As now, there was a 3D printer up on the space station, and they needed a tool for a job. They didn't have the tool, or the tool had broken or something. So the 3D print model was sent up to the space station. They printed off the tool to use on the space station. Now, tell me that that's not some sci-fi futuristic use of technology, then I don't know what it is. That was absolutely when I remember reading that, I was like, that's amazing. That's a functional, from some idiot in a garage trying to make this crude 3D printer to, potentially saving lives on a well, just a bit drastic maybe, but maybe saving lives on a space station by building this little tool, because they can't take up I'm assuming they can't take up every single spare part, every single tool, because everything costs money to send up, doesn't it? The more weight, the more more it costs to send up. So why not just send up a big blob of 3D print material that will give you X amount of tools or nuts and bolts, maybe something that would be useful. It's brilliant. 3D printing, books, Monopoly, photography, PC gaming. There's probably a lot of other things as well that I do. I do collect. I collect Steam games, but that's another story. I think that's another one. Steam games, I'm not going to complete. So is there anything else you can think of? Maybe.
Yeah, I've got a new hobby. Well, it's not new, but it's relatively new. Lockdown new. Because I found myself very bored when the lockdown happened, and it's something I've been wanting to get into for a while, and it was beer brewing. So I've started brewing my own beer. I'm on my 4th batch at the minute, and because because my wife don't really drink, there's only me that, and I'm not a big drinker, so it's taking me a while to get through. I'm doing like 40 pints every time I do it. I know the third one I haven't actually tasted it yet, because I did that with friends before the last lockdown. Before this lockdown has just started, should I say. At the minute I've got some amber ale that's ready for bottling tomorrow. So that'll be my day, washing, sterilising, and filling about 40 bottles. I think I've got to know. I'll have to save one of them for you, so you can try that. When you next come up, or whenever I next nip down. Maybe more than one. We'll see. I'll get you drunk off it. But yeah, I've over at lockdown. We've got 2 outbuildings on his land that I didn't know what to do with. So we spent quite a big chunk of the time redecorating, sorting them out, and making them waterproof and everything, but couldn't work out a use. So I married the 2 things together and used it as sort of a man cave / brew house. So that's where I keep all my brewing stuff. I'll have to put some photos on. I did want to do some filming in there, so I'll have to sort that out. But no. So
what you're saying is your wife has basically said, yes, you can have the shed. Off you go.
Yep.
And you now live in there.
Yeah. No, it's got electrics, it's got heating, it's got double glazing. I mean, it's you could sleep in it. It's got a sofa in it now. Places to store things. I built a little cabinet. I sent you a photo, a little shelving unit thing that I made out of a pallet. Because I do quite like fixing stuff and building stuff, and so that gave me somewhere to brew my beer, to save it, and to drink it in peace and quiet as well. So that was a good one. I mean, I've got a failed collection, shall we say, of Mr. Potato Heads. I collected them since I was about 16, I think, 15, because someone bought me one, and then I started collecting them, and I've only got 3 left. I want to say about 30, 40 at the time, but the kids kept getting into them and then wanting to play with them, and I've got 6 siblings? I've got 6 siblings that, 4 of them are younger than me by a lot, by like 17 years. So when they were kids, they've played with them and took them and all sorts of stuff. But I'm proud of the last 3. One of them I didn't want to lose was a Spider-Man one, like a special edition. I can't remember the name of it, but that one got stolen by one of the children. And the last 3 that I've managed to keep are Darth Vader, which is called Darth Tater.
Of course it is.
R2-D2, which is called R2 Potato. And Optimus Prime, which is called Optimash Prime.
Optimash
Prime. And they're the most intricate. That's why I saved them ones out of all of the other collections, because they were all had something to do with films or video games, like the Master Chief one and stuff like that. From Halo, I had loads, but they've all been stolen or lost as we've moved house. But they're the 3 I've managed to keep hold of. I'll have to send you a picture in a bit, and you'll see them, because the detail on them is exquisite, especially the Darth Vader one. It's got an actual like cape that made out of material, and the R2D2 one actually looks like R2D2 because it's a smaller potato, and the Optimus Prime one has the full like Transformer stood up, but then in his truck version as a little model. But he looks good. But that's my failed collection. I tried my hardest for many years to keep hold of it, but we move house like every 2 years. I mean, hopefully we're going to stay in this one a bit longer, but that's how they get lost, and with children stealing them.
Okay, and thanks for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed listening a little bit about our hobbies and interests. It's been great talking about them. Also, I never knew about Nathan's potato head collection. That is something I need to learn a little bit more about. What's going off there? Yeah, like I say, if you like what you hear, give us a quick like, give us a quick subscribe. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, we're all over the place. Search up Sage's Retreat. You'll probably find us. If you can't, let me know, and I'll make sure you find us there next time. I've been Lee.
And I've been Nathan.
And we'll see you next time. Brilliant.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.